So if looking at your bank account makes you anxious, you've tried budgeting and just can't stick with it, or you stress about unexpected bills, this is for you. I'll walk you through a 90-day game plan to get your financial life in order so you can have clarity on what to do right now to build wealth. These are the invisible money traps keeping Americans broke. Did you know 48% of six-figure earners are living paycheck to paycheck? Now, I get it. I've been there too. I've made six figures and squandered it all. Nothing crazy. For me, it was death by 1,000 cuts, like eating out too much, typically. But I know for other people, maybe it's buying too many flat screens or buying too fancy of a car or what have you. Everyone's situation is different. But there's so many misconceptions on how to ultimately solve the problem. You don't need 10 budgeting apps. You don't need to wait till the next pay raise to get your shit together or think that winning the lottery is what's going to solve your problem. It won't. Money isn't evil. And you don't need to just tighten your belt and buy less fancy coffee or DoorDash less often. That's not the root cause of your problems. The reality is it's not about your income, it's about how you actually manage your money. The systems that you use or don't use in this example. By the way, if you want a complete blueprint to set up my automated money ecosystem, you can check out a link in the description below. All right, this is the rich life foundation from which all of this is going to stem from. Basically, we have to put together the puzzle pieces before we can automate anything. And here's the crazy thing. Most people and their understanding of automation is somewhat helpful, but not really. You're automating things that are like not in your favor. Like, sure, it's great that Netflix pays for itself automatically. The joke I make is like, they don't take a check. You're not going to mail them a check to pay for their service. It's great that your check deposits in your checking account automatically from your employer, but most people stop there. We need to go beyond there to automate things like investing contribution or savings, things that are getting us ahead financially. We need to do that first. And so before we can do that, we need to gain financial clarity, which means having an understanding of what is coming and going in our financial life. Like, what does 1 month of our life cost us based on how much income we have? What is the difference in how much we make versus how much we spend? We call that the free cash flow. How much free cash flow do we have, and how can we get it to all the right places automatically? Because otherwise, if it's left to our own devices, the money will get spent. But all my clients have a spreadsheet where they dump all their numbers on so we can gain clarity again on how much income they make, how much their expenses are, how much they're going to allocate towards spending on a given month, and therefore what is their free cash flow that my job is to come in and help get it to all the right places automatically. Now, a couple considerations. Knowing your burn rate, the money that goes out the door every month, is really important because that's going to help you establish the number for your emergency fund, which is going to be, times 3 or times 6 of what that number is. So meaning if your life costs $10,000 for 1 month, then we know we need $30,000 in a high yield savings account to be 3 months ahead. Similarly, that's also going to be based on what number you need to retire one day. So meaning if your life costs $10,000 a month, we need to add that, multiply that by 12 to get the annual number. So $120,000 divided by 0.04 is going to get us what we need in a retirement account to be able to retire one day based on the 4% rule, which we've discussed in other videos. By the way, if you want to see how I helped Emma save $25,000 a year, you can check out the link to that below. The biggest part of this foundation, once we understand the numbers, is to help clients get a month ahead. And so there's often a lot that we do to help free up cash flow to get them to that final destination of getting a month ahead. But this month ahead is going to be like this kind of buoy for you for seeing financial waters of which you live your life. Meaning, if you get laid off, I have a client going through that right now. Just kind of came to me while I'm filming this, but had a client that we met with in November, and she basically said that like her husband just got laid off, had a recap call to like figure out their next steps. They're continuing to work with me and just kind of carve out the plan for the layers of where they're going to pull money from. But she basically said we'd be effing screwed if we didn't work with you when we did in November. So they'd gotten to a place where they're a month ahead. They're putting money in investment accounts and savings and doing all these things. And so they're going to be much better positioned to deal with this layoff and have clarity and have other layers of where they need to liquidate funds if needed, how to survive during this uncertain time. So the reality is life is coming at all of us. We don't know know when the next job layoff, we don't know when the HVAC is going to go out. Some of these really big expenses can really put us sideways. And if we're living on the razor's edge and you have maxed out all your credit cards and something like this happens, you can get screwed. So building a month of emergency savings is a good, quick, reasonable goal to get people started so that we can kind of launch from there to the next level. And the reality is people have these things that are keeping them from these goals that they don't realize, one of which is credit card interest. So just to put some numbers behind this, if you've got a $6,000 balance and you're making the minimum payments and the card is charging you 25% interest for the pleasure, that will cost you at a minimum of $1,500 every year, let alone if that balance continues to grow over time, which happens to a lot of people. You get to the place where you're making the minimum payments and then the balance grows and that's all you can afford to do. So a big part of what I help clients do is slash that, typically chopping the interest in half or better through a variety of methods, which I've discussed in a few other videos. Now, when we are setting up the process for people, there's a couple core accounts we use, a high yield savings account, a separate account for spending. And the goal is we're building towards this month ahead. And as we go through the process and create these boundaries on spending so that we keep people from getting back into credit card debt. And frankly, this does a lot of things because it turns down the stress from a Maslow's hierarchy of needs standpoint. It really reduces our stress when we have a weekly cash infusion. We know that we can always go buy the groceries, go out to eat with the family, do the things that make our life without stressing about what's going on, upstairs, so to speak, with our income coming in. And is it a good commission month or did we get the bonus and all these things? As we build more liquidity, as we build out the system, the money flows to all the right areas automatically and takes out the ups and downs of the cash flow cycles. But we're setting up the system that enables us to then address the debt, again, cutting the interest rate in half or better through a variety of methods. So that could be a 401k loan, it could be a personal loan, it could be a home equity line of credit. Each person's situation is going to vary. There's going to be a different tool that will be the obvious tool for the job, given people's situations. So the real thing is, it's very normal for people to free up cash flow and say, well, let me use all this cash flow to then go pay off my debt. But the reality is most people that are working with me have been trying to pay off debt for years and years and years unsuccessfully, or they make some wins and then they get back into debt. And so the way to solve this problem once for all is a combination approach. Thankfully, automation makes this super simple. So the 4 big goals I help clients solve for: paying off debt, building emergency savings, building savings buckets, think Christmas, travel, vacations, etc., home and auto maintenance, whatever, and then investing. So again, especially investing, we know we have to grow our purchasing power because we are losing out to inflation all day, every day. All of our money is losing value. We're buying depreciating assets. It's a big problem. So we have to get ahead of that. And that's where investing comes in if we ever want to make work optional one day. And so let me address some of this investing stuff because I think investing feels for people very counterintuitive. It feels like, well, I don't have money to invest. Well, you don't have money because you're not investing is a big problem for most people. And so the good news is you can literally start with $10 a month. Everybody on the planet has $10 a month that they can put away towards this. And I'm here to help you figure that out if you can't see the path for yourself. But the reality is if we invest like $1,000 a month at a 7% interest rate, which is incredibly conservative, that'd be like $1.7 million in 35 years. So if you literally just did that, and again, in this scenario, we're not increasing, we're not doing more than 1,000. And I get, you might be saying, well, I can't do $1,000 a month. I get it. We start where we are, and then we slowly turn up the dial over time as we're able to do so. And the other piece is like, well, what do you invest in? Well, here's a good clue. Warren Buffett, 90% of his wealth is going to go into an S&P 500 index fund, which is literally just matching the S&P 500 market. And so it can be that easy because the reality is, Kevin O'Leary of Shark Tank fame points this out all the time, that 88% of mutual fund managers fail to beat the S&P 500 or fail to beat whatever benchmark they're going for. And so the reality is we can keep fees very low, which a 1% fee over like a 30-year timeline can easily be hundreds of thousands of dollars of a lost opportunity. So important to keep that in mind, but you just have to start where you are and begin the process. We can always turn up the dial once we've built the habit. And you might be wondering well, where do you invest? For most people that are hiring me, they probably have something like a 401k. That's a great place to start, especially if you're gonna get a match. We're able to be more tax efficient with our dollars. From there, if you want to look at something like a Roth IRA, depending on your income, if you are able to put money into a Roth IRA, if you have a Roth 401k, that's often a great place to go with your your employer, depending on the investment options that you have available to you. But we can keep it really simple, again, letting automation do the heavy lifting and increasing the dial over time. One of the biggest life hacks that I share is that most 401k plans have an automatic increase function, meaning you start out doing just the bare minimum to get the match, but then next year you do 1% more, and 1% more the year after that, and 1% more the year after that, or 2%. You can set it up different ways. But ultimately, that is the biggest hurdle for most people, is if you just do the bare minimum to get the match, you're probably not going to retire the way that you want to. Sorry if that is a buzzkill to you, but you need to be investing more over time. I had a call with my video editor this morning, and I mentioned this to her, that most people try to do the absolute bare minimum in investing when it's like literally building your golden goose. Rich people think about how they can do the maximum amount in investing. And so you have to switch this mindset, because number one, earned income is the highest taxed income. Investment income is not taxed at a high rate. So you want to be shuttling as much of your paycheck into better, more tax efficient areas over time that are going to be growing your wealth, rather than buying things that are going to squander your wealth building opportunities. You basically have two choices. Keep doing what you've been doing, managing money with budgeting, or trying to, stress about bills, watch your paycheck disappear, or join hundreds that have changed their financial lives forever. If you want to work with me one-on-one on your specific finances, you can book a free 60-minute strategy session with me where we're going to go deep on your financial goals, and you just need to click the link down below in the description. And this system will work with you even if you're 40 and have nothing saved. Although starting to invest when you're older does require a different strategy, and I talked about that in a previous video. Thanks for watching.